everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. We're going to actually start around 7:05. Give everybody a little bit of a chance to jump in. If you guys all could, please in the comments section, just go ahead and put what facilities you're with. That will help us to have a better idea of who we had spoken with. Thank you. Once again, for everybody, I just want to let you know I'm going to start right around the 7:05 mark. Give everybody a little bit of a chance to jump in here. Make sure their sound settings are working and all that fun stuff. And then we'll start jumping into kind of a baseline for really getting started with an MRP profile, season management, creating a schedule, registrations, fantasy racing, kind of just the real basics to get you started. All right, everyone. So, just as a place for us to get started here, and kind of have a baseline of what we're doing, this is a uh, My Race Pass profile for a track or series. And I apologize, I'm just trying to get my sound a little bit better for you guys. All right, let's see if that's a little bit better for everybody. So this is your base MRP profile here. To start with, I'd really like to go over how to get into this profile. And so the best way in order to do so, in my opinion, is directly from myracepass.com. So at myracepass.com, in the upper right-hand corner, you can log in. And once you log in, there will be an option here to click on your name that you logged in with, and then My Profiles. My Profiles is going to take you into your profile unless you are a manager on multiple profiles. If you're a manager on multiple profiles, you'll get a white page where you will be able to see all of the pages that you are a manager on, and in turn be able to click into the specific one that you need for that given event or night that you're working on. So from there, once you're logged in, this is where the majority of everything is going to happen. So the important parts here that I want to touch on right away on this main, we'll call it the dashboard here, is going to be the app favorites, which is located about halfway down here on the left, and then the sandbox down at the very bottom on the left. To start with on the sandbox, the important thing there, and the reason why we always want to bring that up, is that sandbox is designed as a place for you to play. That's 99% of its use case, is a place for you to go in there, play with different settings, different lineup schemes, different ideas that you have in a preparation for your given race night. The big thing to keep in mind with Sandbox is that it refreshes every Monday morning. So any data or any work that you do inside of there does vanish after the refresh on Mondays. But that also means that you've got the fresh data from the most recent races you were just working to be able to work from. So if there was an issue over the weekend or anything like that. The other thing that kind of helps with that sandbox is the fact that only you can see it, or those that can log in can see that. So you're not going to be getting a bunch of phone calls from drivers asking what's going on, why points changed, why a result changed, or anything funky like that. So it's a great place for you to get in there, play, try some different things, and just kind of get an overall feeling for your use of MRP in general. Kind of continuing down here, one other thing that we would hit on then is the app favorites. So the app favorites, and the reason that it is important here, and is that anybody that is has favorited your track, facility, or drivers in the app has a potential to get push notifications about that facility under certain circumstances. So as a track, you have the ultimate control over series. The series have some level of control depending on if they're going to a track that is not going to a specific facility. or is going to attract that the facility is not a client. So the app favorites, those push notifications can go out for a couple of different reasons. The biggest and most important one, in my opinion, is when you change the status of an event. So if you change the status of a given event to mark a rain out, mark a no show, or a postponement, mark that something is changing, that is when you will be able to go in there, mark that that's happening, and then all of those people potentially are going to get a notification about that happening. At the same time, they also potentially will get a notification that you have created lineups for the night, or fantasy racing is open for the night, and or whenever you post news. Important thing to note on the news is that you do not have to be using a MRP specific website in order to utilize the news. You will have to purposely go in and put the news in place, but you can do that even if you don't do a website through us directly. And Leroy, I will work on getting that screen cleaned up on the right there. I apologize for that. So continuing here, the first place that we start is within the track, or what we call the profile tab. So that's this tab here on the left. It's typically going to be a logo of your track or something of that nature. You put those in place. And then as this updates here, I'm going to do my best to get that screen cleaned up there. It looks like we're okay for right this minute, so that's good. So the first one here is just kind of a basic dashboard notification page again. So here's where you'll put your profile image in place, and if you hover over these, it kind of puts a green label around which photos those are, so you kind of know which one you're looking at. So profile tab being the little small square one, and the header image being the larger rectangular one at the top there. You can put those in at any point in time, and we've got the sizes here for you. Believe it or not, a lot of people, when they're scrolling through the app, that's going to be their only way that they notice your facility, more so than actually looking through and reading those words a lot of times, to make sure that you're putting a logo that looks good and looks clean, and helps really pull your facility to the forefront. The profile tab here is probably, in my opinion, one of the little more underutilized tabs. But the important part here is that you've got the track basics, so your overall basic length, basic shaping, banking, composition, the year it was opened if you know that, year it was closed if you had a closed facility, hopefully you don't, and then your seating capacity if you wanted to. That one I don't believe is public anywhere, at least at this time. But the description portion here is the part that I believe is really underutilized. Throughout the country, there are a lot of facilities that have been utilized for different types of events, whether that is political rallies or movie sets, especially in the Southeast. For some reason, a lot of horror and zombie type movies get filmed in the Southeast, and a lot of times those are near racing facilities or at racing facilities. Utilizing that description to tell people that some of these things happened at your facility, somebody's a past champion there. Anything that you can do to try to draw them into coming to your events is really important. So utilizing that description better than it has been in the past is something that I think a lot of people could take more advantage of. I know we've got a couple of Wisconsin ones in here, and a great example there would be Outagamie, utilizing the fact that Seymour is one of the towns that claims to be the home of the hamburger. So that is something that they could take more advantage of. That I haven't looked at theirs to know if they are or not, but that's the kind of thing that I'm referring to, where trying to draw people into your facility. From there, we go into the physical addressing. So this is all pretty straightforward information, but your physical address, your mailing address, and your contact information, pop in there every 6 months and just make sure it's correct. Just that way that you're not going to have somebody go to the wrong place. Same thing goes here for the location services. This is set to our old office in Lincoln because of what this profile was. But the principle of the matter is still the same. Make sure that your Google Maps location is set to your facility. In most cases, you guys are all pretty good, and we keep an eye on that as well. But just in the off chance, pop in there for a minute, double check yourself. That is allowing for in the app, if somebody clicks on your facility, they just hit directions, pulls up the Google Maps directions, and gets them to you. Track features here is the next one that I really want to harp on for a minute. The track features section is a location that we all can take better advantage of and need to take better advantage of. A lot of the items here are the difference between the whole family coming and just one or two people from the family coming. Referring to, types of bathrooms that you've got. Do you take credit cards? What are your camping options? Do you have Wi-Fi there? And then for the driver's side of that, do you have electric in the pits that they can use? Do you have pit concessions? All those fun little things that it's really easy to gloss over, but can make a big difference to how many people are coming with them, which in the ultimate makes a big difference for you guys overall. And then the last part here is going to be this add alias portion. You cannot put an alias in directly yourself, but you can certainly click on this, request an alias that sends a message to us here. And then we just take a quick look at it, make sure it makes sense, and we put it in place for you. If we don't think it makes sense, we're going to get back with you fairly quickly and just say, hey, we don't want to go with this because of this, or, we just want to verify that the name makes sense. The big reason for that is there are too many places that already have essentially the same name. The Bull Ring, Thunderhill, Thunder anything, unfortunately. Those are examples of ones that if you start to type those into our system, there are far too many of them already. So the concept of what this alias is doing is if you come up here to my race pass here, and I'm going to use Luxembourg as an example here. While Luxembourg is no longer the name of the track, Luxy Raceway is, it pulls it up right away because of that alias being in place. So that's the concept of what's happening here. We don't want to put an alias in place that is the same name as another facility because that's not going to help them to make sure they find you. So if there's a common or colloquial name in the area that is used for that facility, like Outagamie, I can make a very easy argument for utilizing Seymour as an example. And so I apologize, I use a lot of Wisconsin examples just because I travel around that state a lot for racing. But so that's the profile section here. We really need to do a better job as a group, taking advantage of what's here, and things like in this description, like I mentioned. Personally, when I'm traveling for different reasons, whether that's work or family or anything of the sort, I'm often looking to see what facilities are running a race near me. And if you get into certain areas where there's a lot of tracks, that description can make the difference between whether I go to your track or I go somewhere else that I'm interested in. So I'm just using that as the example. Kind of continuing down, we won't touch on this a whole lot here, but billing is where you'll be able to find your invoices. So if you ever have a question on an invoice when it comes in or anything of that sort, you can come right here to billing. The invoices are listed for you. Go ahead and click on these. It opens up a PDF and lets you know what you were getting charged for. You can also double check what cards it's on, what partner or what level plan you're on, and when those cards expire, all that fun stuff there as well. And then down here at the bottom is often a forgotten about item here. You guys have access to 2, 4, or 6 free all access accounts, depending on your subscription level. You can go in here at any time and change out who is getting those free all access subscriptions. So if you haven't ever looked at it, go ahead and take a quick look at it. If you haven't looked at it in a long time, double check that it's not somebody else getting a free subscription that maybe you don't want to have it any longer. There's not a whole lot else to hear on billing, but just keep in mind that when you get invoices in, if you're not sure what it's for, jump into your billing section, take a quick look at your invoice. That's a great place to start, and that helps us to answer questions for you as well. If you were to have a question on billing, that's ultimately almost always where we start at. Continuing down, I want to hit on users here for a minute. Users right now, we're slowly expanding user roles. So as it sits, we have, I want to say it's about 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, I was right. So site administrator is the most common currently, and that's what most of your users are going to have. First name, last name, and email address is all that you need in order to add them. As long as they have a myracepass.com or MRP app login with that email address, you'll be able to add them immediately. If they don't, once you add them, they're going to show in yellow because it's going to send them an email letting them know that you want them to create an account so that they can log in and get to your profile. So site administrators have access to nearly everything. There's one exception to that rule, and I can talk about that in just a second. But site administrators have access to basically everything. If you have somebody added as a site administrator, you don't need to give them any of the other roles. The designer role, specifically, you guys are never really going to touch. That is just for our website designer. It's something we add, and you don't have to worry about that at all. The box office and ticket redemption roles have to do with online ticket sales and or ticket sales at your front gate. As we go deeper into the week and talk about the tickets a little bit more, those two will get brought up specifically. But the ticket redemption especially is a very nice one, where if you decide to do online tickets, you can add anybody as a ticket redemption user where they can scan those tickets into your facility through their MyRacePass login on their MyRacePass app on their phone. And then host audio or host announcer audio, that has to do with our new audio streaming features. That allows you to send your announcer audio directly to the MRP app, basically making it much easier for people to hear, especially if you are running classes of cars that are typically louder, or you've got a very old sound system that maybe doesn't work as well as it once did. So those are options that you have available. Those are a part of the plan that you've got. Typically speaking, anything outside of site administrator, we're probably going to be talking you through the steps to these other roles. But the important thing here to remember is that you can add administrators to your profile at any time. At the same time, you can remove administrators at any point in time. So using Amanda as the example here, if I wanted to remove her, Amanda is our drag racing specialist who's watching in here with you guys. If I were to go to remove her, I would click on the little blue arrow and I'd hit delete. That's all it takes for you to remove an administrator and take away their access to what's going on at your facility. And then obviously you can take a look at this periodically. Biggest thing here, I would tell you, is that periodically, maybe once every 6 months, or especially at the start of a season, jump in there and just verify that everybody belongs still. It's very easy for us to change employees throughout the winter and forget to take somebody out. So, continuing here, payments is the one spot that the site administrator does not immediately have access to. The only person that has access to this is whoever we designate as the ACH user. So when you guys send in an ACH form to us, there is a email address on there. That email address is the ACH user. And then also anybody else that you give the financial reporting role to in those administrative user roles. Basically, this is an area where you're going to be able to come in here, click in, and find out what you're getting paid for. So if you get a deposit from us on Tuesday or Wednesday after we've distributed funds on Monday, and you're trying to figure out what it's for, this is the place to start. Jump in here, click into that, and it's going to tell you if it was for ticket sales, if it was for registrations, if it was for merchandise sale, or anything else of that nature. So this is a good place for you to start on that stuff. With that said, we're going to jump down to season management. That's kind of the next place that we're jumping into, and we want to start going over a few things. So with that, season management is kind of we're going to call it the peanut butter to the jelly that is race management. So you really need to have your season management set up correctly, nicely, and organized prior to starting your race management for the season. So it's the little more boring side of the sandwich, the peanut butter side that maybe doesn't have as much flavor, isn't quite as sweet, but you need it, and it's there and it's important. So the first thing here is up here in the top left corner. We have the 2025 Your Favorite Track season. This is your seasons. We want to make sure that you're adding a new season each year. And all you'll do is click on this and come down here to new season, and then you'll follow the step on the screen that takes you 30 seconds. Admittedly, I fully expect most people to forget about this because most of us are only working at 1 or 2 facilities, and in which case you're probably not going to be doing this very often. So if you ever have a question on that, please feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to answer as best as we can for you. Once your season is created, this first page here, again, is just kind of a dashboard overview. These are the upcoming events. These are recent events that have happened. This is a pending yearly registration, and these are active suspensions that we have in place. So your season management starts with the configuration. The configuration, again, starts with adding either tracks or series. This will really depend on if you're a track or if you're a series. So if you're a series, you're going to be adding the tracks that go in here. And if you're a track, you're going to be adding the series that are coming to you. So these work the same way. So let's say if I was going to add a track, I would click on that. And then these are all previous tracks that we've added at some point for some reason on this profile. Admittedly, this profile is a little bit messy just because we do a lot of testing and demoing and examples in here. The better example here being the season touring series. So we would add series. Again, these are all the series that we've added at some point for whatever thing we were working on at that moment. But the important part here is if that series is not listed here as one that you've put in previously, you'll click on this More Series, go to All Series, and then you'll start to type in that series name. I would tell you 9 times out of 10, the series that already exists in the system, with the exception being of if it's a brand new series. If it's a brand new series, when you attempt to add it, you're not going to be able to, but it's going to send a message to us. And it'll pop up on the screen that, you're requesting this new series. That sends a message to us. We go in, we just do a little bit of verification with you. Again, very similar to the alias. We just don't want to create multiple series or duplicate a series that already exists, or create it with a poor naming convention where it's going to be hard for people to find it, that kind of thing. And we'll help you get those created. But if you were looking for a series that already existed, I'm just going to use IRA Sprints here as my example for a moment. Right there, IRA Interstate Racing Association, that exists. I would click on it. I would click Add, and then it would be one of these series here. As we're doing that, what it's going to do is it's going to add a class. Just how these are here, there's a class underneath every one of them. What that's doing for you is it's building out your season classes much quicker for you. And it keeps everything nice and clean so that you know what class goes with the series. So when they're at your facility, you know what class should be on your race night. After you've added your series, then you can jump into the classes here. Works in the same principle here. Add classes. These are all the classes we've previously used at some point. If it wasn't listed there, we would go to all classes and we would pick out from the list. These are what we call types of racing to start with. So like as an example, if we were going to jump into Bandoleros, we would go there, and then we can pick out the specific Bandolero class that we're going to add. The other thing that'll happen here is sanctioned classes. So for those of you that are a sanctioned racetrack, whether that's IMCA or WISSOTA or NASCAR or anything else of the sort, you can sort through these here. So like if we click on NASCAR, we'll click Next. And then at that point, we can pick out the classes. There's roughly 50 of them for NASCAR that we have noted line up with the NASCAR divisions so that we can help them get that sorted out. That one is a little bit different than others. What you're going to find on some of the others, using the example of like IMCA, is when you click on sanctioned classes, those classes will have that sanctioning body's name or letter designation in front of it. So IMCA, WISSOTA, USRA, etc. They're all a little bit different. They're all a little different things that happen, but the important part is grab the correct class for what you're using. The second side of that is if you're not sure, please reach out to us and we will help you get the classes set up. The classes are really integral to how our system functions. Not only on the back side for you as the racetrack, but on the front side for the fans and drivers. One of the big things that we often forget about, or two things I should note. One is that on the front side of myracepass.com here, under news, people can pull out the specific types of news that they're looking for. So if they're looking for sprint cars or they're looking for modifieds or late models, they can pick those out there. So making sure that we're picking the right classes along the way helps us with getting to that. The second side is on the app itself, people have the ability to sort or filter the events that are happening on that given day by the types of racing that they're most interested in. So we want to make sure that we're picking the appropriate classes and not just naming a class something it's not, because it's not going to pull up for fans. It's going to make it harder for them to find what they're looking for at your facility. Continuing down here, I'm going to skip registration for just a moment. I'm going to hit on the events, then we'll come back towards registration. So events is kind of the second part of season management, and it, in some ways, is the most critical part of it. So this is where you're going to start adding your schedules. So to start with, we will click here and add schedule, name it whatever you want to name it, click add. What that's doing for you is that's creating this base schedule here. You can have as many schedules as you want or need. So again, it totally depends on your facility, different events that you have planned, things of that nature. But using like Hawkeye Downs as an example, if you were picking out 5 or 6 races that are going to get their own point scheme or their own points, championship points, besides the yearly points. We also do this like on the IRA schedule in Wisconsin for the Hoff Farms Bullring Showdown as an example. So there's 6 races that get a separate set of points besides the regular championship points. We can create another schedule for those. Again, this is one of those items that if you're not 100% confident in what you're looking for there, just get with us and we'll help you walk down that path as needed there. But once you add a schedule, you'll have this will look barren and stay 0 total events instead of 3. You click on that, and once you click on that, you'll click on this Add Events button in the upper left-hand corner. When you click on the Add Events, all you're doing here then is picking out the race nights that you're going to be racing on. So you can pick out all of them at once fairly easily here, picking out the 4, 5, whatever it's going to be, and then we're going to click Next. I'm just using this as an example, obviously, but at that point then we can put a name in, add a description for that event, put any of our pit times, gate times, hot lap times. If it's a non-racing event, you could change it to a non-racing event. What that does is it stops you from being able to add a class to that event. So in general, add your racing event, pick out what classes are racing that night, and then you'll click Add and Next. Add and Next is going to add that event and then move you to the next date that you chose. Until eventually you end up with something similar to this. Again, ours is a little bit messy. We do a lot of training and testing and teaching from here, so it can get a little bit messy at times. But premise stays the same. So at this point, we can click into, say, this Monday Mayhem race here, which is today's date. We can enter any kind of description we want for the event. The important things here is anything you want people to know about the event, put it in the description. If you want them to know your running order for the night, put it in the description. If you want them to know that there's an option for $5 off if they bring a canned good for the night, put it in the description. Anything like that. If there's a road closure that's going to affect people getting into your facility, if there's a specific gate that you're using on that given night, put it in the description. This is kind of an open platform for you to utilize to help you with your facility and your fans. Again, you can change the name of the events there. If you don't have a name initially, you can change that there. That's also one of those places that we can take a better advantage of. It's very common for people to remember the name of an event. It's not so common for them to remember the date that they went to that event. So if you think about big concerts or something like that you've been to, especially festivals or something of that nature, think like a Lollapalooza. Everybody remembers the name of that event. They don't remember what date they went to that event. If you've added tickets to a given event, those are listed here as well. And then at that point, you are able to edit to the bottom right. And I apologize, it's cutting that off a little bit. I'll have to figure out why it's doing that. But to that bottom right, there's an edit button there if you needed to edit any of that information. as far as, how many are available, what price they are, all that fun stuff, which is something we're going to go into a little bit more depth with later in the week. And then you can see what classes and series have been added to that given event and what schedules that event is on. Please keep in mind that as you've added events to your schedule, your drivers can start adding your event to their schedule as well. There's obviously certain parts of the racing world where that's more common than others. Definitely looking at the modified and late model side of life there, it is very, very common for them to add their events to their schedule, to your events to their schedules. Sprint car side of life has a little bit of that as well. That's also another thing you can take advantage of as a track, though, from a marketing perspective, is you can state that, hey, this person's put it on their schedule. You're not saying for sure they're going to be there, so you're not going to have that kind of complaint, but you can just say, hey, these 5 guys have put it on their schedule and showed that they're planning on attending my event. Also, if you've got it on more than one of your own schedule, you can do that. So again, kind of using that Bullring Showdown example I gave earlier, those 6 events count for both our championship points and those 6 race points. So that'll be on both schedules. I skipped past registrations for a moment because registrations makes a lot more sense once we have events that are already created. So registrations are an opportunity for you to gather your driver's information in a clean and legible format. I'll repeat that, a clean and legible format. That's the biggest part of that. Digitally from your drivers. You have 4 different types of registrations available. So there is the yearly registration, an event registration, a general registration, and a miscellaneous competitor registration. Yearly registrations, you have one of those. As a track, that's typically just going to be your yearly registration to say that somebody's planning on running at your facility that year. What you're going to do there, you have the option. You can take funds for that or not. Totally up to you. So if you want to put a dollar figure on your registration, you can. Those funds will come to you via an ACH deposit from us. And on the yearly registration, that happens on a weekly basis. So once you have made it available, driver has registered, you go back in and you confirm that registrant, which I'll talk about here in just a second. 7 days after that confirmation, it becomes available for payment. And then the next Monday that hits after that 7-day mark, we go ahead and distribute funds. Typically, you're going to see them that following Tuesday or Wednesday, right after we've distributed. The event registration is if you're going to have somebody register for a given specific event. So as the example there, like if you're going to put on a race that's a little bigger than something you normally do, and you're going to take an entry fee, this is a good way to do that. And the funds on that will come via an ACH deposit, albeit a little bit differently than the yearly registration. Our preference, and the one we're going to heavily push you towards, is to utilize the received funds after the event. The big reason for that just boils down to if for some reason the event doesn't happen, whether that's something completely out of your control, any number of items. Let's face it, it's 2025. There's any number of things that could happen that would stop the event from being able to happen. You do not have to worry about the refunds at all if you take the funds after the event. You would come in, mark the event as needing to be refunded. We take care of all the refunds. There are some other options there. If you guys want to talk about those on a more direct one-to-one basis, just give us a shout and we'll be happy to go over those. General registrations are utilized for a non-racing event. So if you were going to have like a golf event or a bowling event, sort of as a fundraiser for the facility, you could utilize a general registration for that, meaning that basically it doesn't have to be a driver that registers. So it could be a non-driver that registers. All the others require you to link a driver to the registrant. And then the miscellaneous competitor registration acts very much like a yearly registration. It's just sort of an additional one of those. So once you've added a registration like a yearly, this is kind of what it looks like here. You're going to have the entry info and late fee info all listed up at the top here. Your dating information as far as when it opens, when it closes, you do control that down to the time. The important part to keep in mind here is that we're always in Central Time as of now. That is something that may change here in the future, some things we're working on. But in general, keep in mind that it's all on Central Time. So if you wanted to close at a given specific time, Pacific or Eastern, you need to do a little bit of math there and make sure it lines up to the right time. As you can see here, I've got, it looks like you might be cut off. So in this first example under the 410s, I've got 2 confirmed registrants and 1 pending. In this case, if I click into this, I can then see my registrants. So the 2 in white are now the ones that I've already confirmed. The 1 in yellow is the one that I have not confirmed. In this case, it was a demo that I was working on and trying to replicate something that was happening to some other people. So I haven't confirmed this bottom one here, but all I would need to do is to the far right of them, click on the confirm. And when I click on the confirm, then I am able to confirm that registrant. Let me see if I can figure out why the screen is cutting off. Well, looks like I can't quite make that work perfectly, but for the example here for a moment, I was able to move that screen so you can see that blue confirm button to the far right. And then I'll move the screen back here in a minute. So that's just kind of important there. I want to make sure you guys could be able to see that. So the confirm button here on the far right, that's what we're referring to. And I'm going to move this back now as an example here. So I do apologize for that. It's learning curves with some slightly different or new software or ways of doing things. So I do apologize. We want to try and do as best as we can for you. So in this example, all we would do to confirm them, I click on that confirm button there, and then I can click on the competitor. In this case, I would type in that competitor's name. This one actually happens to be my father that I was using as an example. So he doesn't exist currently in the system. Again, I was trying to verify something. So I would type him in, he doesn't exist. I click create new, first name, last name, hometown, and state. That's all the information you need to create a driver profile. It's the same thing you would do during the entry process. And then we'll put a car number and click confirm. At that point, it moves to being white, just like these 2 here at the top. The driver does get an email letting them know that they've been confirmed as a registrant for that given event, and you're pretty much off and set with that. When it comes to the registrations, there's a lot of questions that happen. Unfortunately, a lot of them tend to be very specific to a given facility or a given event or situation that you're trying to do. So if you have any further questions on registrations, especially, let's make sure to touch base. And I'll give you these numbers here right away, but support@myracepass.com. Support@myracepass.com. That's an email address. That is 9 times out of 10 your best friend. So that is going to get you with Austin, myself, most commonly. And then depending on the question or the situation, it would allow us to bring Amanda or Chris or Brandy or Brad in on some things to get you answered as quickly and as easily as possible. We heavily prefer email communication. It's not because we don't want to speak with you, but email allows us to send links and send photos back and forth to each other so that we can make sure that each of us are looking at the same thing. More often than not, the hardest part when you're talking to somebody on the phone is that I can't see what's on your screen and vice versa. So we end up kind of getting frustrated with each other when all we really needed to do was send a photo and just kind of share that information. So we do prefer email communication for that reason. It's not that we don't want to talk to you. It's just that we want to make sure that we're understanding exactly what you're getting into. It also means that it's not uncommon for us to send an email back just saying, hey, can you snap a photo of that you're talking about, and or can you give us a link to that specific item? So that's support@myracepass.com. One more time there. Use that any time of day or night. It's not a problem. We're happy to answer as much as we possibly can that way. The last thing that I wanted to touch base on here tonight on this portion, before I give you just a couple other small pieces of information, is fantasy racing. The important part here is that I start every conversation about fantasy racing explaining that it is not the insane, crazy, annoying, frustrating, all time consuming thing that something like fantasy football is. Our fantasy racing was designed for a couple of purposes. The first and foremost is to keep people engaged with your facility, or at the very least, engaged with the racing community as a whole, and not so focused on, their buddies over there fishing and it looks like they're having a lot more fun than they are. At the same time, it was created to be simple and easy for both you, the consumer, and your fans. So on your end, technically, your fantasy racing just happens by you doing the race night the way that you're supposed to be doing the race night anyway. What you can take a greater advantage of is that you can come in here and create leaderboards of your own. So you're automatically going to have a leaderboard created for all classes at your facility and for each specific class at your facility. And so you could go into one of those, click all classes, and you could add a prize to that. Or you could create a specified leaderboard utilizing, name it how you want, title it how you want, what classes it applies to, what schedule it applies to, or utilizing a custom date range. The custom date range allows you to do something like a month or a week at a time. What this allows for is that's another opportunity for you to sell a sponsorship. There's still effort on your hand that you need to go out there and put in the work to attempt to sell that sponsorship, but the opportunity is there at very little effort for you to do it. The prizes, you can add those at any time. We heavily suggest that you add prizes that are easy to ship or mail. You are going to have people that are not at your facility or are not near your facility playing your fantasy racing. That's a good thing. You actually want that. You want people from across the country to know about your facility, to become somewhat engaged and interested in it. While they're not going to be the person that shows up to you every week, there is a good chance when they're taking a vacation or they have to go out and do something for work that they're going to remember that, oh yeah, your track is in that area. Maybe I can catch a race while I'm there. So those are good things. But if they were to be the one to add, sorry, a little bit of a cough there. If they were to be the one to win a prize, you would want a prize that'd be easy to ship or mail to them. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're adding prizes. Those are the main things that we wanted to make sure we hit on tonight from the actual season management portion of things. The last couple items that I personally wanted to make sure we hit on just a little bit here, because I don't think that we take enough advantage of it on a regular basis, is that again, that email address, support@myracepass.com. We're more than happy to answer everything we possibly can from there. B, we have a bunch of help articles built and ready to go for you. You can find those at mrphelp.com. And this will take just a second, sorry. Actually, it's going to load something that I don't want you to see right away. What you're going to want is this page here. So mrphelp.com is the address that you will go to. Mine's a little different because we've got a couple different things going on, but these are articles that Austin has spent a boatload of time writing and rewriting and changing and cleaning up every time that we make an advancement to help you guys to all of your questions. And in most cases, you're going to find that most of the articles also have a video that goes with them. This one actually doesn't, but most of them will, like this one here. So the all-new ticket management screen, Austin just did a video for this about a week ago or so. Those videos are all available on youtube.com as well, which is also where we'll upload these webinars to when it's all said and done. So if you go to YouTube and just type in My Race Pass, all as one word, here at the top, you will find our page, and then you can click into that and pull up all of the different playlists that we have available with different information for you guys and everything we published there. The other item that I wanted to touch on for just a minute that we often skip past here for you is under this products and services on myracepass.com. If you go to all products, no, that's not the right one. So myracepass.com/toolbox. I'll have to remember the exact string to get there, but myracepass.com/toolbox. On here is all of our logos, announcer reads, banners. All of this stuff is pre-designed, ready to go for you to use. We encourage you to utilize it. We want you to utilize it. It's here for you. And I don't know that we always do the best job putting that information out there for you guys that it's here. So we wanted to touch on base on that for just a minute here as well. So myracepass.com/toolbox is available for you to utilize at any point in time as well. We certainly don't have a whole lot else that we needed to go over tonight. Tomorrow night, Austin is going to be the one back on here, most likely. And he's going to be going over race management, adding race night entries, calculating lineups, publishing the results, connecting to Orbitz and/or Race Manager, calculating the points, tracking payouts, sort of the bread and butter, or as I put it earlier, the jelly of the of our system. So we hope to see everybody again tomorrow night as well. And without anything else to say, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. And I thank you guys for all for being here. And we look forward to seeing you at some point along the way. Thank you.